She was a gentle warrior.
She was kind of like the glue to our family. Like it was really important for her to see us all together all the time.
Just always was concerned with ensuring the people that she was with, they were tended to, their needs were met, that they were enjoying themselves.
She was a really good person, always helping the ones in the need. It's always looking out for others instead of herself. And
she stuck by her way of thinking. She wasn't easily influenced. And I would just say a nurturer, a carer, and just a good soul.
She was a really forgiving person. I always told her that she was the third, fourth, and fifth chance giver. So in her group of friends, she was known as the mom, like she was a mom.
I feel like Nataly was a reflection of Claudia. Claudia's always been kind of like the caring person, like the mother hen. Like she just wanted to care for everyone, make sure everyone else was okay.
I had her when I was 17, got pregnant when I was 16. So we kind of grew up together.
I would say that they had a great relationship. Claudia's been that constant for Nataly in her life.
Claudia absolutely understood her responsibility of providing and instructing, Nataly. One thing that I always respected that Claudia did for Nataly was, although she was a single mother, she never required Nataly to work. She always ensured Nataly had a childhood.
It was such an interesting dynamic because they were almost like sisters.
Close relationship to where Nataly felt comfortable talking to Claudia about her issues. Like she didn't, or keep things away from her. Claudia was always her supporter, and she knew that, and she wasn't going to judge her for it. Their relationship was very, very close, and more than just being a mom. I feel like it was like mom, daughter, friend. Like they were very much more than just mom and daughter.
It was a traumatizing pregnancy. I was a straight A student until then. Kind of one of those things where you got to do what's right. So get married. I was a child, raising a child and trying to be a whole wife. I was 16, he was 21. I went from being at home with my parents to having to live with strangers and not knowing what to do and not knowing how I was going to take care of a child and graduate high school and continue to go to college. But I found how difficult that was with kids. I believe she was 14 when I finally got my associates, and she was really, really, really proud of her mama. Because I was going to school and I was taking care of Nat, and I started working at a bank, and I just thought, why doesn't he want to, or why can't we have so-called, American dream of giving her everything that she could possibly have. But he just didn't really want to, and one day I just decided that I was on a different path than he was, and I left.
When they separated, there wasn't a whole lot of, him interacting unless it was Claudia reaching out and Claudia asking and Claudia saying.
She loved her dad very much, but there's no consistency, and she struggled with that. She struggled with feeling loved and feeling included sometimes, and she would mention things to me.
She knew she couldn't count on him to do it, to be there. Nataly knew. I guess she had already got used to that. As bad as it sounds, she had already got used to that.
It's more of a, if it was convenient for him, there was a relationship. And that wasn't just at the beginning. I feel like that was a lot of Nataly's life, unfortunately.
I almost feel like she was given too much responsibility with that relationship. Like it was not her responsibility to reach out to him all the time. My sister would be like, this is your daughter, like you need to make an effort. Like she was the one kind of like pushing him, like, are you gonna come get her? Are you gonna come this weekend?
I didn't want her to ever think that I kept her away from him. She had always wanted a sibling. She has 2 other siblings with her dad, which she completely was head over heels for. We did like a little Facebook announcement, and she posted a painting where she put, I asked for a car, but I got a brother instead. My sister swears that Ivan is hyperactive because we overstimulated him as a baby, because we both wouldn't leave him alone. I was getting ready for work, getting ready for my shift at Verizon, and I was at my vanity, and I got a phone call from like a local number, which I usually don't answer, but I answered that call, and it was from the hospital, and the lady on the other end just sounded really agitated and asked me if I was Nataly Montoya's mom. And I said yes. And she said, well, she's had an accident and we need you to head to the hospital, but we don't need you to come by yourself. I called her dad and I told him. And as I was calling him, I passed the site where she had the wreck. I just saw the wrecker pulling her car onto the wrecker. I saw one side of the car and I was like, everything's okay, everything's okay. And I just kept talking, I guess, to myself, like I'm coming, talking to her. I called Ivan's dad and just kind of repeated what they told me. By the time I got to the hospital, he was outside of the emergency bay area. And I just got out of my car. I left it running. I left Ivan in there. I just ran inside. The receptionist just knew who I was, and they took me into a little room. I was probably hysterical at that point. Gilbert, her dad, was there, and his wife, Karina. And Gilbert, I asked him, where is she? And he said, I don't know, but it doesn't look good. Came in, I'm not even sure if it was a nurse. I kept telling her that I needed to see her, to take me back, that I was her mom. The doctor came in. He didn't have to say anything to me. He just looked at me, and that's when I knew that she was gone. I remember falling to the ground. I remember screaming. And I remember them trying to get me to stand up, and I couldn't. It was like everything had left my body. And then in a split second, I just wanted them to take me to her. I don't know what, like a switch turned on, and I felt like if I touched her, if I held her hand, if she knew that I was in the room, I thought maybe they didn't do everything and she needs me to be in there with her. It's my kid. I mean, the first thing I did was just hug her, touch her face. I grabbed her hand, but I was just waiting for her to like grab my hand back. Like just, she was really, really swollen from her stomach. Her hair was wet. It had mud all in it, and I kept trying to get the mud out of her hair. Her eyes were swollen, so they weren't shutting right. And her nose had like foam coming out of it, so I kept wiping her. I just remember begging her to open her eyes and to talk to me and to hold my hand and telling her I was there and wiping blood off of her with my clothes.
Nataly, what did you say?
I love you.
What?
I love you.
Say it again.
My life has completely changed. The house that I was so proud of, I left that house because I could not drive past the scene every day. I mean, we eventually went back like 8 months after I lost my job at Verizon. I've always been determined person to take care of things and make, my parents proud and my kid proud. She had that same drive.
She was always her mind was forward thinking and on to the next thing. And how do I improve and what can I learn about and all those things. And I think that's something that she lacks now. She just it's been harder for her now. There's this void.
From the person she was before to the person she is now, it's a whole different other person. Actually, when I moved back from Dallas, she offered to rent me her house. She still had all her stuff here, and just watching her come and get some stuff at a time, little bit at a time, because she couldn't handle that where Natalie lived. It would take such a big toll on her that for the next couple of days, it would be tough for her to get out of bed. She didn't feel the motivation to do anything.
She's just not the same person, and she never will be. I don't think that we can expect that from her. It's been really hard for her to, I think, even function on a daily basis sometimes.
It's like losing your arms and your legs. I mean, every day I wake up in the morning and the first thing is that first breath you take and you know you're missing something and you feel like it's just, like I feel like I'm literally missing my limbs, like I'm not going to be able to get up and do anything. A lot of people say it gets easier with time. For me, it's gotten harder. This is actually my 4th job in less than 2 years. To me, that's not normal just because, I was at my other job for so long. Like my birthday, I hate celebrating my birthday because I know that she will never be my age. She will never get the chance to be 38, to be 21, hit milestones, to graduate college. Sometimes when I see her friends posting stuff on social media where they're doing things together, my brain puts her face in those pictures because she would have been there with them.
I feel like I've also lost my sister through this whole thing just because she's not the same, and I don't expect her to be, but that's been just really hard to see her in pain and not to be able to do anything.
My mind is just mush all the time, I guess I could say. I have a lot of memory lapses. You could tell me something, and if I don't like put it in a task list or something, I'm not even gonna remember that you told me. It's really frustrating to not be able to do that and be the same mom that I was to Natalie. I can't be the same mom to Ivan. And now that's my other greatest fear, is losing Ivan.
Not that she doesn't love Ivan or that she doesn't care about him. Like she's a great mom when it comes to like meeting his needs and being present for him, but I know that she is not able to enjoy him as much. Like those, like as he's hitting those milestones, like she's still dealing with all this.
He's not ever gonna have the same mom that she did. He's not gonna have the same grandparents she did. He's not gonna have the same uncles, the same aunt. If you see our family in a room together, it's like you're looking at a bunch of lost people. Like we don't know where we're at.
We've lost the sense of meaning in life.
You just don't know. You don't know when you wake up what's going to hit you that day and what you're going to be reminded of and how it's going to impact your day and whatnot. So
our life revolved around her, and my parents helped me a lot in raising her. She called my mom Ama, and she called my dad Apa, which is the term of endearment as a mom or a dad in Spanish. Life is different for all of us. My first fear had always been my parents dying. I'm not scared of that. I'm not scared of dying. I'm not scared of, now I'm just scared of my son. And then I'm scared of, like, I wouldn't be able to survive that because I'm barely functioning now. Every day I have to get up, after I realize that she's gone. And I feel like every day I have to kind of pull like an Iron Man move and put on my arms and put on my legs and put on my head, and then I get out of the bed, and then I have to take a shower, and then I have to push myself every day to do things that any person just does. And for me, it's like moving a mountain now. After she passed, I was in awe of the amount of people that were at her viewing, that were at her mass, people that I had never seen before, teachers, friends that I had never in my life. And even now, when I go to the cemetery and we visit her, there's always something there, and there's always flowers there. And so I know that there's always people still thinking about her. It just reminds me of how she impacted people. When she first passed, I started a bereavement group for moms that had lost their kids, because I felt like I needed a connection to somebody that knew what I was going through. I just needed somebody to tell me that they felt the same thing. But I started that bereavement group. It was called Our Missing Links, because she wore this necklace all the time. She had it on all the time. And I just think about, how every piece has to be there for it to be that necklace. And if you're missing one link, it's no longer, a necklace. And then I started a nonprofit in her name called Nataly's House. Through her, I realized how many kids her age are in need of a hot meal, place to wash their clothes, a person to advocate for them. The long-term dream is to actually have a brick and mortar building where they can go and find these resources. The social worker that was with me at the hospital is now a social worker at the high school. Through her, I've been able to use the resources that we have put into the nonprofit, and we adopt, it's called Adopt a Tiger, but it's adopting kids. I'll get them like back to school clothes, winter clothes, and then we'll start over the next year. But I also adopted a girl for prom through Nataly's House. She could not find anything in Cinderella's closet because she was a little bit bigger, and Nataly was a little bit bigger. Got permission from her mom, and I was able to take her shopping to Dallas, and I had that experience that I didn't have with Nat for her prom. We ended up finding the perfect dress, thank God, because we went to so many stores and we couldn't find her size, and I was like, oh my gosh, this would have been Nataly's struggle. Because I just wanted her to be happy and have a, because I would have went all out to try to find Nataly's dress. So, but we did it. We got her dress, we got her shoes, there's a scholarship. The scholarship is used to fund a travel program that's called Nataly's Project. They are aiming to go to orphanages in different countries. This year was the first one. They went to an orphanage in Mexico City, and they were able to take resources and things like that. I think for me, that's another one of my big fears, is for her to be forgotten. So I work really hard to try to keep her name, to keep people talking about her, or till the day that I go do whatever I can to keep her remembered and her name out there, and do things in her honor. Like, I know she would have done great things just on her own. Sometimes I feel like she's the one that's pushing me to do these things.
Another way of keeping her alive is by speaking her name, speaking her stories, letting other people know who she is, and how important she is to me. And she's my niece. She's always going to be my niece, and so
to just take it one breath at a time. There is no other way to do it. Sometimes I just take it one breath at a time. And I live in hope and faith that I'm gonna see her again. Even though the world, the universe has hurt me this way, I still feel like you have to be a good person and a kind person, and not turn your pain into something ugly. I talk to her in the car. I talk to her when we're going to bed at night. I make Ivan say goodnight to his sister. because I feel like she's still out there listening. They're still out there listening. As much as you want to give up, they don't want us to.